If you know a bit of history and fashion, you probably know it was Hugo Boss who made the uniforms for Nazis, shared close ties with Adolf Hitler, and shamelessly forced hundreds of prisoners to work for his company. Uncover the biggest fashion expose in history as we take you through the dark and disturbing story of this iconic brand. Hugo Boss, or simply Boss, is one of the most successful German companies in the world. At a market cap of $5 billion, there's no doubt when it comes to menswear, Hugo Boss is the ultimate symbol of class, elegance, and style. Endorsed by popular celebrities like Chris Hemsworth and Kendall Jenner, in the 100 years since the company was launched, Hugo Boss has amassed one hell of a market base. But at what cost? Well, it seems no matter how many PR cover-ups you pull, it seems the ghost of the past is finally catching up. But hey, we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves. Where exactly did the Boss journey begin? Inheriting his father's small lingerie shop in his hometown, the German city of Metzingen, at a rather young age, by the time he was a young, booming adult, Hugo knew the ins and outs of the local textile industry like a pro. But unlike his parents, who were kinda happy just making ends meet, Hugo had much bigger dreams to follow. Eager to expand the lingerie line to a whole new line of clothing, from jackets, shirts, to sportswear and raincoats. By 1924, Hugo had turned his parents' quaint little shop into a full-blown factory. Unfortunately, Hugo's new business plan was about to suffer the same tragic fate as hundreds of other businesses in Europe at the time. Hugo's new tailor business was hit hard by the growing hostility between the Germans and other European powers such as the British. With the German economy now failing and under severe debt, Hugo's new business model had little chance to survive. Despite the growing popularity of his brand and Germany's massive debt to Europe, it meant inflation in the country had reached an all-time high, leading many small and big businesses into shambles. Left with just 6 sewing machines, it wasn't until the age of the Nazis that the Hugo brand was once again back on its feet. That's right, from 1931, Hugo became an active member of the Nazi Party. Having served in the First War during his youth, Hugo now had a bevy of close friends who served in the German army. Accused of having personal ties with Hitler himself, the infamous German leader responsible for killing millions of Jews in Nazi Germany, for a while it seemed this man would go to any length to save his failing business empire. Hugo, who had also successfully won the government bid thanks to his personal influence, now became the official contractor responsible for manufacturing the new Nazi uniform. According to some media reports at the time, Boss even brought in forced laborers from countries such as Poland and France to boost production. Using an army of mostly female workers, Boss was later accused of using coercion as a means to make sure his workers were always on top of their game, even threatening to send them to concentration camps. These prisoners of war reportedly worked in inhumane working conditions. Giving them little access to food and hygienic work environment, the company now began to benefit immensely from Hitler's regime. And hey, even though the company has now recently issued a public apology for its past Nazi connection, it seems not everyone is convinced that Hugo's actions were only a strategic business decision, leading many independent voices, like contemporary German author Roman Koster, to even say that it may have been the case. But one may not interpret Hugo F. Boss's remarks to mean that he was personally far from National Socialism. According to another news source, the factory used as many as 140 Polish and 40 French workers, all working against their will. Whether or not this was just a business decision for Hugo or something more, it's hard to tell. Hugo, who died in 1948, left the reins of his growing empire to his son-in-law. Faced with the negative backlash around the company's support for Hitler, the new owner was working to distance Hugo Boss from its dark political past. With no lucrative Nazi contracts to keep the company vaults full, the brand began taking its first orders for men's suits. And in 1953, the company produced its first line of suits, officially marking the brand's entry into menswear. Thanks to their new and intense marketing game, the Hugo brand was now everywhere. Being donned by some of the most famous racing icons of the time, the sleek and chic style of clothing was just in line with all the right trends at the right time and place. Becoming a part of the paradigm shift to a more executive and entrepreneurial work ethic in Europe, by the time the company was in its third generation of owners, led by Hugo's two grandsons, it seemed the company was finally ready to break free the limiting throes of the textile world, instead expanding into other kinds of products. That's right, in 1985, the company launched its first premium fragrance, the Boss No. 1, quickly becoming one of the brand's most popular products on the market. In fact, did you know by 1986, the company, which was now listed on the German stock exchange, was valued more than the combined worth of all menswear companies in Germany? But for the burning ambition of these two brothers, conquering the German market simply wasn't enough. All set to go global, by the late 70s, the first Boss suit was sold in the United States, marking the beginning of the brand's growing global empire. Fast forward to the new millennia. In 2000, the high-end designer brand introduced Boss Woman, a clean and stylish line designed for the sophisticated female businesswoman of the 20th century. Like it or not, Hugo's company sure knew how to cash in on the trends of the time. From its support for controversial political ideologies to keeping with new trends at the workplace, Hugo's company was ever ready to take on new risks, successfully creating a loyal customer base and a diverse line of classic and chic Boss products we see now. As of now, Hugo Boss is one of the largest German clothing companies, churning global sales of 2.9 billion euros every year. This is the fascinating but scandalous history of one of the most iconic fashion brands in the world.